everyone, it's Emma and I am back after being away for a very long time, and I'm going to be showing you what I'm doing for 2024 for Stories by the Month. I've been really inspired by all the other videos I've seen on YouTube with people explaining what they're doing this year and what they did last year and why they're changing or staying the same. So I thought I would do the same and show you and explain why I am doing something differently this year. So if I go back to 2023, this is my half of my 2023. I started Stories by the Month in 2023 and I just had the digital kit. This was the first time I'd ever done any kind of scrapbooking or memory keeping in this way. And I quickly found out that my ambition was much greater than my ability, and it isn't as easy, and layouts are not as easy as I thought they were. And I really struggled. So right at the beginning, I was approaching storytelling like this. This was just not supposed to be like a story kit story. This was just supposed to be like a Stories by the Month. I thought I could approach it like a magazine, new layouts every time, and I realised that actually that was just not going to happen. So after a while, I started kind of trying to get into grid formats, and I still was struggling with that. And then Crystal, there's story kit stuff in here as well. Crystal Inuade, which I really miss her from the scrapbooking community. She had some layouts, some templates on Etsy, and I really liked those, so I got those. But I still wasn't quite working for me. So then what I did eventually was I created, I think this is the first one I did, I created a 12 by 12 grid layout that would fit into a outside the page protector size. So this area here is 3 by 4. Now it's not actually 3 by 4 because it's much smaller, but if you made it bigger proportionally, that would be the same size as a 3 by 4 card. And this over here, if you stretch that out, that would be a 6 by 4 card. So it's slightly different from the 12 by 12 pocket pages, but it works the same sort of thing. And what I really liked about it is it's really flexible. So this might be a good time to talk about page protectors. I'm not a great lover of them. I don't really like the texture of them. They're really, really difficult to get where I live. I find they're quite expensive. And I didn't like the fact that what you do on one side, you have to repeat on the other side. Now, I know you can do all sorts of clever things by cutting things up and putting cards together and stuff, but I just wanted to not have that restriction every month, which is why I don't use them. So this worked really well for me because when I had not very many stories, I could just use a big picture, but it still is really balanced across both pages. So I continued to do this throughout the year, but at some stage it started to take me quite a lot of time because I was having to cut all of these things out, both the pictures, which I was doing on satin paper, and the cards, which I was doing on matte photo paper. And me and scissors do not get on. So I was trying to cut these out on my portrait silhouette, or silhouette portrait. And my portrait's a bit like a teenager. So some days the world is amazing, everybody's cooperating. And then another day it's like, no, not going to do it, not going to do anything you asked me to do, leave me alone. And so some days it would be great and I could get on with my scrapbooking quite quickly, and then other days I'd spend like 2 hours trying to get it to print and cut, and that got very boring very quickly. So towards the end of the year I started printing out, so this is all matte photo paper, and I started printing everything out and only doing print and cut for the things that were like I wanted to add embellishments, so it had a little bit of texture. And I don't mind this at all, but it really wasn't what I wanted to do. So for 2024, in about October, I started thinking, what am I going to do? And I decided that I would subscribe to the physical kit so that I wouldn't have to cut the cards out anymore on my temperamental portrait, although it has got a bit better lately, so maybe it's maturing a bit. I decided to do 9 by 12. So this is my 9 by 12 layout. When I printed it out, I just thought, this is huge. And when I was watching 9 by 12 layouts on Instagram and YouTube, they just didn't look that big. And when I actually printed it out myself, I was like, wow, that's not what I wanted. I wanted something you could just like hold and sit on your lap. So it was back to the drawing board for me. So I'll just put that to one side. So in the end, I decided to make a hybrid size. Now, the reason I decided to do that was because I wanted it to fit on an A4 piece of paper. And I'll explain a bit more about that in a minute, why I wanted that to happen. And I wanted to still be able to use the physical kit that I had purchased, so I didn't have to cut all of those things out anymore. And I also wanted something that I could build up. So this is a screw post book or album. And these are little screws, and you can unscrew them like this. I'm sure you know what these things are, but just in case somebody doesn't. And the posts that go through, you can get in lots of different sizes. So you can get these tiny, tiny ones. I can't get the screw to go back in now. Don't mess around. There you go. So you can start quite small, and then you can get huge ones, like really long ones. So I can keep adding to the back. That's why the screws are on the back, so you can keep adding to the back. And I cut out these strips and the bases on my silhouette, and also the holes. So all these parts and all of this part is the same every single time. So I don't have to cut them out manually, which obviously means that everything is the same size, and I'm not going to have holes in odd places. And then for the hinge, I just use one of these document folders and just cut it into strips and attached it with red line tape. The reason why I made a hinge was because I have made one of these before. I've made lots of them. And the very first one that I made, it's scored, but it's not really hinged. So it doesn't really stay open or lie flat very, very well. So I learnt my lesson, and every future one I've made these little plastic hinges. You can buy these things, but they have lots of holes in them, and they're really expensive, more expensive than page protectors. So I'll flick through the album now so you can see how it works. It just enables it to almost lie flat. So this hybrid format, as I said, allowed me to use the vellum and all of the cards that I had. It's kind of like, this is 6x4 and this is 6x4, but I've set it up as a grid. I use Affinity Publisher, which is very much like Adobe InDesign, and then I can just drop the pictures in and move them around. So this is slightly smaller than 4 inches, like 3 3/4, and I could still use the cards even though that's not the 4 inches. There's enough leeway top and bottom to be able to cut the top off so they all fit in. So this year my format is I will do stories by the month, and I'm going to do it monthly. So I'm going to start off each month with more like a blog type of journaling, which enables me to get all of my facts and feelings out, and also talk about things that I don't necessarily have pictures for. So example, my son joined a choir and I don't have any pictures of that, but I can still put the information in here, and then all the pictures relate to what's written here. And I haven't been super strict about time frame. So this is not all week 1 and this is all week 2. I haven't done it like that at all. I've just literally, the pictures are in chronological order, but they are not just this is week 1, this is week 2, this is week 3. I decided that I wasn't going to date stamp them, or I might do later, but I haven't done, because when I look back on my previous albums, I really didn't care what specific date it was. As long as I knew what month it was in, that was fine for me. So I'm quite minimalist with my embellishments. I really struggle still with layouts and knowing what's too much and what's not enough. So I tend to err quite a lot on the side of caution. I decided to stitch the vellum on. I was really excited about the vellum, and then I was really confused about how to use it. So I decided to stitch it on so I can layer it like this. So that's 2 pieces of vellum together. And then this one, I made a pocket and just put a picture of my daughter performing behind it. That's a full page photo, of course, a little bit of embellishing there. And then again here, I've stitched it. Try and get a bit closer to the camera. Hopefully it will focus. Not sure if it will, but there's all stitching around here. And I think it adds a really nice effect, and then it gets over the issue of having the tape showing through. So to me, this is like it's intentional, whereas the tape showing through would not be intentional. Again, just flowing through the month. And then at the end, this is a consistent card throughout the kit. So I'm going to continue to use this card and just make my last page about all the things I've been, not everything, but things I've been listening to, reading, watching, what's maybe been in the news that's, you know, really newsworthy. So that's my album. But I also wanted to do all of this planning on digital first. It's just the way I just do things. I just can't be ad hoc enough to just print all my photos out and then try and make them work. And I also wanted to create a digital version of it so that I can print it as a booklet and send it to some of my more elderly relatives who don't really use Instagram, YouTube, that kind of thing. So Publisher, which I make this on, allows you to print out your booklets, your pages, in a booklet format. So this is one piece of paper. I can't really try and show you. So that is one piece of paper. So you'd have page 1 and page 2, and then this is page 16, and this is page 15. So that all prints on one piece of paper. So when you fold them all in half and slot them all in, they all follow the same journey through the book, which is much easier than trying to do it yourself and work out what needs to be on what page. And I basically just hand sew these down the centre. I was going to machine stitch it, but that turned into a disaster. So I just hand stitch it. And then this is the exact same booklet. Slightly different because obviously I haven't handwritten or stamped in any of this, and it doesn't have the pockets in it, but it tells the same story. And then I can send this and somebody else can enjoy it. So that's what I'm doing. I've noticed that the colour's just gone a little bit funny, so I apologise about that. I don't know what's going on there. If you'd like me to do a tutorial about how I made this, or how to use Affinity Publisher, as I said, that's very, very similar to InDesign. It helps you put together pages because they're kind of like Facetune pages, so you can see how everything is going to flow, and it's quite inexpensive. It costs about £50 and no subscriptions. I'm not an affiliate. I'm not paid to say anything by them. So let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. Let me know if you want to know how I made all these things, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.